Hey everybody, I'm out here getting the sprayer ready, and I thought I might just talk a little bit about what I run, what I have, and my experience with it. I mentioned in a previous video that I have this is an old Chevy top kick. It has a precision tank system on it, and when I bought the truck it had the old air valves and 60-inch spacing nozzles, and so I ran with that for quite a while. Of course, I went to a 30-inch spacing on the nozzles. But then last year I upgraded it to this weedit kit. And so I just wanted to give you my review on this weedit kit, what I've learned after using it for 1 year. And maybe if you guys are thinking about it, hopefully I can give some insight as you make your decision, because it is a major investment. I have 27 sensors on this. This is a 90-foot system. I custom made all of the brackets. Here, as you can see, it's a good perch for birds. As you look down there, try to make them all even. I copied the angle as recommended by the manufacturer. It's all pulse width modulation and 10-inch spacing on the nozzles. And that's one thing I did do, is I looked around, I found a narrower angle on the nozzle. Let's see if I can get one of these off here. You can see it here. Come on, come into focus there. That's not going to do it for us. This is a 40-degree nozzle. And the reason why you want to go with a 40-degree or 35, I think, is available for some, is it directs the spray closer together. Because as each one of these nozzles is firing, you want all the chemical concentrated on the area on the ground right below it. I originally had 80-degree nozzles on it, which the overlap was fantastic. But by the time, if one nozzle fires, by the time the spray pattern hits the ground, it's so dispersed that you're losing your concentration of your chemical. And so with a narrower spacing, I think it does a better job. So each one of these sensors, I don't know if you can see, each one of those sensors controls 4 nozzles. And so each nozzle is going to be color coded. And so this pattern just repeats itself over and over. Also, what's good is these nozzles, each one of these is like a section on the boom control. And so this boom has 27 sections. And so it's really precise coming into, if you're coming to the end row on an angle or something. I feel like it's really precise that way. Kind of get a look at what the camera looks like. Okay, so I have the weedit system tied into my ag leader, and which is nice because you can toggle from one screen to another. You can actually make the changes in here, and this has all the section control. Yeah, I ended up building this whole frame on the back, this lift frame. It's totally different than when I bought this truck. I have both of these accumulators here, and that helps float the booms, and that's a big accumulator for it. because they want a lot of travel. Most of my ground there's lots of hills and gullies, and so I added this ram right here so I can control the tip of this end part. So this last 15 feet, it can be controlled up and down, and also has the breakaway system on it. One thing I've learned is I treat these booms like they're made out of glass. Just super careful. Yeah, these sensors are really expensive, and you'd want to be really careful with it. So one of the claims with weedit is you'll save up to 90% on chemicals. And so after a year running this, I'll give you my insight on that. I think that should come with a huge asterisk, and for two reasons. One is if you're spot spraying, of course it depends on the weed pressure. Spot spraying really shines when you're either in fallow ground or post-harvest. I've decided in my pre-plant burn down to just do cover spray and not spot spray, just because sometimes there's teeny little weeds that the sensors aren't going to pick up, and you want a good clean field. And so I don't know, you can decide on your own farm, but for me last year I tried spot spraying for my pre-plant burn down, and I feel like I had a few escapes. This year I'm just going to do cover spray, just to make sure I get a good cover. The second thing too is, of course, if you're doing your herbicide pass in a crop, the spot spray is not going to work because if it senses anything green, it's going to spray it, and so that doesn't really work. And so your biggest savings come in fallow or post-harvest. Another problem too that I didn't really think of until I had this was when you're spot spraying in fallow ground, sometimes you don't know how much spray to mix up. Because before, this is a 1,600 gallon tank, and if I'm spraying 10 gallons to the acre, well, I know I'm going to cover 160 acres. But with your spot spraying, you don't know how much you're going to use, and so it's hard to know how much chemical to mix up. That could be solved with a direct inject system, which might be a future add-on to this truck. Another important part of running this is keeping the booms at a consistent height above the ground. That's why I added these gauge wheels right here. And that's why I can move this end section right here, just to try to keep that consistent height. These sensors, where this beam's hitting the ground, so as the beam is projected out of the ground, it's going to hit, say it hits the ground right here. Well, the computer calculates from where it hits right here to where the nozzles are spraying out of the ground, and so you really need to keep that distance consistent. But what I found is as you're going through the field, you're bouncing, it's going up and down. So I put these gauge wheels on to kind of minimize that. I also feel like the spot spraying works better if you're going slower. I know the brochure and the advertisement says you can go pretty fast, and I mean technically you can, but I feel like it does a better job if I go a little bit slower. One other problem, I guess, I haven't figured out a good resolution to this yet, is behind the truck. Now, of course, these are really wide tires on a floater truck. Behind the truck, there's more shadows out in the sun, which affect how the beam is picking up the weeds. And I know, like, directly behind the truck, these nozzles don't fire as often as the ones out here on the boom. And so the shadows affect how these sensors pick up the light. And like I say, I haven't come up with a good solution to that one quite yet. So just one example, like post-harvest last year, I mixed up a full tank, and normally it would cover 160 acres. And I went and just started spraying, and I covered 460 acres on one tank. So that was that's a huge benefit. You know, when you do something like that, you can really see the cost savings add up. And not only that, but then I feel like I can mix the chemical at a little higher concentration. So I know if it does spray, it's really going to knock the weeds out. And so that really helps a lot. One other good feature is these little GPS receivers. I have one here and one on this other side. And what that does is, as you go around the corner, it's going to, on the outside, let's say you're turning to the right, on the outside, these nozzles are going to spray at a higher rate, and on the inside, they're going to spray at a lower rate. And so even as you turn, it's going to variable rate your spray, which is just, again, one more level of accuracy which saves money. So is it worth it? I would say it depends on your operation. If you have fallow ground and you do chem fallowing, I'd say it's worth it. If you don't do much of that, until the technology comes where you can spray out weeds in a crop, I don't know if it would pay its way. Anyway, I'm more than happy to answer any of your questions. Leave it in the comments. I'll leave my email in the comments too, and I'd be more than happy to talk to anybody who is willing or interested in one of these systems, and I can go into more detail. Thanks for watching, and hit that subscribe button.